Hey man, say man, we back again and again and again and again and again with my mother friend Wiley ATL, man. Wiley from Atlanta. What's going on? What's going on?
Man, I'm just glad to be here. You know what I'm saying? On the program. It's been like
Ah,
4 years, I feel like, since I've seen you. I don't even know,
ah,
man.
yeah, man. It's been give or take 4 or 5 years, bro.
Something like
Last last time I seen you, I don't even fucking know. It may have been your show, like in person. Like it
I
may
was
have
gonna
been your show.
say, because obviously, not to dive straight into it, but we
Yeah,
had we had the Mammal Gallery show, like
yeah.
the Love
Okay.
ATL shit.
All right.
That was
Story
years
time,
ago.
motherfuckers.
Like that was like Love ATL 2, and that was back when Mammal Gallery was still around.
Yep, yep,
So
yep.
I feel like we've probably crossed paths since then, like on some just like, oh,
Yeah,
what's up,
yeah,
bro?
yeah, yeah,
Type.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But yeah, that was like the main sort of.
I want to say at that Love ATL show, I remember crying, like as I was performing, and
Mm,
I remember everybody that I've seen that remembers that show being like, "Hey, you're the dude that was you."
oh
And it's like I have to explain, like I was an emotional kid, like
yeah,
I was an emotional kid, and I was going through a lot. I was going through so much, and like you
yeah,
know, it just gets heavy, bro. And when you're performing songs about the shit that you're going through, it's just like,
right,
you know how that shit goes, you know? So
yeah,
niggas had to break down, bro. But I say that to say, shout out to artistry, man. Shout out to
yeah.
music.
I agree with you, and I also think that type of like you can get hit with emotion on stage for any number of reasons. It
Right.
might not even be like exactly the song, but that's I think a lot of times you bring what you have going on in life up on stage with you,
Facts.
and then you get kind of like this out of body window. That was a weird show for me because I got way too fucked up, and
Yeah.
like I remember I told my friends I was talking about it recently because like by the time I was supposed to go on,
Yeah.
I was like pretty much blackout, and I didn't really drink that heavily at the time like that. So I blacked back in like during my set.
What
I was
the
like
fuck,
halfway
y'all?
through, and I
God!
remember
Oh my
like
God!
becoming aware that I was performing. I was like,
Wow.
oh.
Yeah. Yep.
Um,
Yeah.
but people will come up to me sometimes after shows back in those days and be like, "Man, it's crazy how you act drunk up there.
Yeah.
Like, how do you
Yo,
do
like
that?"
the vibe, the way you
Yeah,
really get into character. Like,
I'd be
nah.
like outside the venue, just like it's not an
Breathing.
act.
Yeah. But that's bro, but that's artistry though, no? That's
Yeah,
that's that's I mean, and I hate to glamorize it, glorify it, but
yeah.
that's rock and roll, man. Like,
It's interesting because actually now with the volume of shows I play, it's like the shows are different now. The
mhm,
set is different.
mhm,
There's different elements where in the past, not only did I kind of feel like, drinking a little bit helps you get in that mode,
mhm.
right? When you're starting out, but it's also just like those shows, like you might have two or three shows a week, but it was like you knew most of the people in there,
Yeah.
like
Yeah. So
type
it's really
shit. It
just
was
like
like
a garage band sort of vibe, yeah.
exactly. Exactly. So it's like it's changed now. I actually feel like, my
Well,
whole
you're a
perspective.
professional now, Wiley.
Well, I know. I mean,
You're a
it
fucking
feels
signed
corny.
artist now,
Well, I'm
bro.
independent right now, actually, I should
Okay,
say.
so
But
I was gonna ask you about that. Let me
yeah,
let me ask you real quick. Can you break down? Are you allowed to break down your situation right now?
yeah.
Is it just pub or what is it?
No, so I'm completely independent
Okay,
right now as of, I think, sometime in this summer
okay,
was when like we officially sort of figured it out. Um, have a good relationship with the label I was on,
hmm,
Teardrop. They're like a small company.
hmm,
I think it's just like two guys that run it, but they're good people.
yeah,
And like, I think we put out two projects with them,
hmm,
and I was just like, after, especially because we did a tour in January, but I did that whole tour like independent out of my own pocket. And I didn't
hmm,
have any type of deal with them where it was like, we're going to put you on tour. We're going to
hmm.
put. So
It was just a really good relationship, so to speak,
yeah,
at
like
the time.
we were signed with them for I think like three projects, something like that. We ended up
Hmm,
doing two, and we parted ways amicably. Like it was just like I said, I want to be independent right now. I'm trying to like kind of figure out where I want to go next and like what. And it's also like at a certain point, you know, when you've been doing this for a minute, you sort of your whole idea of like what a label is, what they do, what they can do for you, and like
Right.
the nature of that
Right.
relationship changes, and like you get a different perspective on it. I think like I won't speak for other people, but like definitely when I was coming up, I had this really idealistic vision of what like a come up was like, and the whole
So let's stay there for a second. I
yeah,
just want to say to the people at home, there is, you know, a gajillion people online right this second, you know, that think they understand music contracts and record deals and
right,
record labels. And I just want to let y'all know you have maybe 1% to 2% of the knowledge it takes to actually understand a contract as far as if I put one in front of you. So it's just
for
really
sure.
does it baffles me, you know, how many internet lawyers there are and how many different people that, you know, even us when we were younger that
Right.
thought, you know, oh, you get signed, you get a bag, and I know I'm gonna be good because I'm gonna do this, that, and the third.
Yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah.
everybody has
I'm
their
not falling
own.
for that dumb like I'm not
Yeah, like, and
yeah.
they think it's that easy as far as like, you know, here's the dumb contract, want to sign you?
Yeah.
Nah, it's never that easy, bro. Like,
Bro, it's so true. And you know, I think even more generally, it's just a byproduct of like our access to each other and access to information
yep, yep,
that people become, you know, more interested in things and then they decide they're experts on it. Like
yep,
I remember when I was like 18 or something, I was one of those people on some level that like would talk about certain shit, especially in the music industry, because I was trying to make music.
yeah,
I'd be
yeah,
like,
yeah,
oh, this works like this, blah, blah, blah.
yeah.
And I remember my roommate being like, bro, you sound dumb as like he was just like, you need to actually like
Right, right.
learn about this
It's
shit.
the
Don't
difference between the people that play in like Rucker and like, you know, just hoop in the
yeah,
neighborhood and the people that like fucking play in the NBA. Like I
right.
say this shit all the time. Like you're not even in the league, bro. Like you're not really playing with the rest of the players, bro. Like you're a
Plus,
spectator at this point.
and it takes a long time to even
Become
like
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
don't even know if I like sometimes I consider myself very much like in it because I am,
yeah,
it's what I
yeah,
do.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know what I'm
yeah,
saying? Like I'm a
yeah, yeah,
professional
yeah,
musician, but
yeah.
there is that other element of it. Like, bro, the music industry, you know, anybody who's in it or like has worked in it knows that it's a pretty small circle. I think that most people online,
They think that yeah, yeah, yeah,
you kind of perceive it as
yeah,
like, oh, there's all these different
yeah,
labels. For example, I saw like today people were being like, man, TDE, like they just killed it again with Dochi, like
yeah,
another legendary
yeah.
superstar act. Bro, TDE has signed a lot of acts. A
And a
lot.
lot of them you don't really hear about. Like even some that I
Right.
think are dope that I'm like, yo, you don't know about fucking
Yeah,
Zakari or like
exactly.
people don't know, like, you know, yeah,
And
yeah,
I
yeah, yeah,
think, you know, music heads or even just like you don't have to be like in the industry to listen to Zakari, but
yeah,
like we maybe know more about like, oh shit, okay, they
yeah.
got signed or oh damn.
And it makes you feel qualified, but even then, it's like, you know, first of all, artists and creatives, we don't talk enough, and like you said, the information isn't there,
Right.
but part of me does believe that it could be there, you know, because all it takes is for a handful of us to at least go to school, right?
Yeah.
Like I was curious about this shit, so I took the time to be like, you know what, let me fucking go to Berkeley and figure this shit out. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? And at the end of it, I was just like, ain't no way that like Joe Blow on the internet is gonna be able to
I
like
know.
retain any of what the fuck I'm saying. So
No.
it just becomes
Well, and I also think that there's an element of that too, like just growing up a little bit. And, you know, I think when I was young, I was very like my mentality was like fuck learning shit. I'm or not learning, but like I don't want to be
it's
taught
very
how to do
anti.
this. I
Yeah.
want to like
Yeah.
dive in and like, you know, I want to do it.
Yep.
But I also think the internet allows you to cut a lot of corners. So it's like the older I get, the more I'm like, I need to learn. I want to learn how to
Yeah.
produce. I want to be
Yeah.
able to play a couple
Yeah.
instruments at least
Yeah.
enough to like, you know, I need to learn. Like, I saw a thing today that made me laugh. That was some like, I think it was like a skit, but it was a like in a studio, and this like kid was asking the engineer like, "Can you make my shit sound like it's underwater?"
Yeah.
And he was
Yeah.
like, "What?" You
Not
know,
knowing what a low pass filter or some shit is, whatever.
right?
Yeah. Like yeah.
Yeah. But there are so many kids that like want to make music or like want to pull up to the studio. They might even already have motion on
Yeah.
the internet or
Yeah.
something. But like actually coming to the studio and recording in a professional setting, you have to like know what you're doing.
Literally, as you grow as a man, bro, as you grow as a man and a person, you reach certain heights and levels, and that dictate, you know, your growth as a person, as I was saying.
Yeah.
But it's the same as like your artist self. Like it's a different version of yourself. Like you have a spiritual self, right? And a right, but your artist self also goes through like tertiary like growth cycles. You know what I'm saying? Like it's exponential, but hopefully, but you know, even then you hit points where it's like, oh damn, like I couldn't, like for me, I know one of my goals is to play classical piano, like
Yeah.
learn how to actually play. And
Yeah.
that, you know, I've already started making, I've been making beats and making music and doing this and doing
Right.
that since 14 years old. But even
Right.
that, you know, I think that a lot of people, they grow in different ways. And I think that as an artist, people, it would do well for people to understand that as an artist, you're going to grow just like, you know, as an artist, you might only be like 8 years old. Whereas you might
Right.
think you're an adult. You might think you're over 21, right? But like, you know, yeah, it
Well,
gets
I
like
think
that.
that's the key point. There's always things to learn. And the dumbest thing you can do,
It's think that you
especially as
just
an
got
artist,
it.
is think that you get everything and you already know. Like, I know the hardest shit. I know the best, how to do this, blah, 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 blah. I know what's right for me, all that stuff. Like, I think it's important to trust your instincts and like learn things yourself and you know, figure it out. But that was like early advice I got when I started. Like, we were in high school, we would go to the studio in Edgewood and like split a session, like a 2 hour session, whatever. We'd be in there, and the engineer said to me, first thing he said was, "You'll never make it like from the internet alone. Like you have to go to shows, like all this internet shit." And this was like in 2014, 2015, but it was like you see people blowing up, you know, having X number of followers, whatever, but they never perform. They don't go to shows. They don't meet people. It's like you have to network in real life. That was one of the first things he said. And the second thing was like, don't go to the studio unless you need to go to the studio.
That's a
Like,
fact.
you
That's
know,
a fact.
learn
You know how
what
many artists go to the
for.
studio to vibe, like to catch
Right.
the vibe? Like, bruh, that's what life is about. Catch the vibes in
Yeah.
life. You know?
Yeah, exactly. Well, and it's
Yeah.
fun to hang out in the studio. So,
Yeah.
you know, I
When it's
mean,
not your
well,
session and you're not paying
exactly.
for it.
I was about to say, or
Yeah.
like, unless you're just somebody's friend that pulled up. I always like somebody will pull up to the studio and then we get to work and then they're like, damn, like I'm just kind of
Yeah.
sitting here in silence while you record, bro. Like,
What the
we're
fuck
not
you
partying.
expect? Nah, this is work. This is work. All right, look,
Yeah.
I gotta get into some fastball questions right
Yep.
now,
Yep.
man. But I want to ask you, right? What's the hungriest you ever remember being, bro? Like
Ooh.
ever?
When I was in 8th grade, I was on a trip in Puerto Rico with people from church, and we went on this big, like, went out to this bay, and I don't remember which part it was. I was young, and I can't remember exactly where we were, but it was like 2 hours from where we were staying near San Juan. And for some reason, we were on the way back. We hadn't had like lunch or dinner, and we kept saying to like the chaperone, like, yo, we're very hungry. We're like in middle school. Like, we need to eat like a lot of food. And she was like, if I'm not hungry, you're not hungry. And, like, we went all the way back to where we were staying. She never like got us dinner or anything crazy. Anyway, that just popped in my head as soon as you said it. But I was hungry as hell.
Hey, they had y'all out there like some I ain't gonna say it because they're gonna give me queso.
We were eating Cheerios, just dry Cheerios in the dorm room, like by the handful.
Bro,
You
they
know what
had y'all shacked up, ain't it? Damn, bro. All right. Next question. Favorite city to perform in, man?
Ooh, well, Atlanta by default because it's just
Mr.
different.
Miyoshi,
It's
access
different
granted.
performing here. I know it's partly because I grew up here, I guess, and like have family and friends and community here. But there is a different feeling. The Atlanta crowd is different, man. I swear. Like they.
Trick question. Favorite venue?
Ooh. I mean, the coolest venue I've ever played in was the Tabernacle.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's my favorite one to like. I don't go to like that many shows.
Bro, was that? Tell me if I'm wrong, bro. Was that? I don't know whose show it was or what. I remember like maybe between 2014
Yeah, it was
and
something like
2016.
that.
Bro, did the floor like?
No, it wasn't.
was that?
It wasn't that one. God,
or was
no.
it? Was
and
it
that
Heaven?
definitely wasn't my set. I think no, that was. I don't know if that was it, Masquerade or not. I remember that there was some floor shaking set that happened, but it might have been an old Masquerade.
Yeah. No, the one with where they actually had it. I don't
Yeah,
know. Whatever. I could be
the
tripping.
tiers.
Yeah. I just remember the floor being like
I
caved
remember
in.
hearing about that show. It might have been the Polari Larry Lee Yachty show.
So I wasn't
Yeah,
tripping.
it
Okay.
was probably that.
All right.
Because my
Cool.
little brother was there. I remember like him telling me like I'm going to this like Larry
Yeah.
League show tonight, bro. This
Bro.
little
Oh
Yachty
my
show.
God. Oh my
I think that was
God.
probably that one.
Okay. Next question. What's your favorite number?
16.
Damn, that's crazy. Bro, we got the same favorite number.
Whoa.
That's crazy.
That's very wild.
Yo, you know what's crazy? I was like, yeah, all right, you know what I'm saying? Say 8, say 12, niggas might say 1.
Right.
16 is a very unique number. I fuck with that. I fuck with
That's
you.
crazy. Wow. Same way.
Who do you confide in when shit gets tough?
My mom, my girlfriend, my brother. I think that's really my like super I need to talk access points, I think. And mostly my mom. She's very like
shout out my Dukes.
Good in a crisis. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
She's very level-headed.
Yeah. Hey man. Okay. What's a perfect day for Wiley? What's it look like?
Damn. I always feel like I have a great time. I guess it's first of all, if there's like a really good game on, you know what I'm saying? And like just factors are aligning that watching that game is going to be like a great experience.
Just winning, parlays is hitting.
You don't need to worry about like other shit going on. You can just lock in right there. That's always a good one. I also just like truly days where like you don't have to do anything, but like you don't even really notice that you did nothing.
Bro,
like
it feels good though. Like you still feel
like you don't feel like you wasted a day. You just have one of those like off days. I like that too. I mean, I'm all in on like, you know, I could say like, oh, when I have a great show and blah blah blah.
No,
because that shit is like,
dude, that's a stressful day. Let's be real.
But it's stressful as hell. Like the build up to it is too stressful. I think I would always choose like having nothing to do.
You reminded me of a question I wanted to ask you, bruh. Georgia sports, where are you with the quality of the Georgia sports right now?
A good question. I'm frustrated with the Braves, but I can't really complain about the Braves. Like they did win a World Series recently, so like it is what it is. The Hawks are like in purgatory. I it's just kind of like
Trae Young is a decent bro. Trae Young is decent, bro. Trae Young is decent.
I think he's a really good player if you have another player on the team who's like amazing.
But they got rid of his guy. DeJounte.
Like he's a really good playmaker, facilitator. Like, but he needs that number 2 to like, I don't know. He just like he needs some more weapons to like move it around too.
Ain't gonna lie, I love the Bulldogs, bro, but I'm so pissed at them right now, bro. Everything they're doing is ugly to me right now.
I haven't been tapped in as much this year. My family is super dialed in on it, but like because of I have all these like different. I'll have like a family group chat or whatever it is. But every Saturday, that shit is just depressing. Like just text start rolling in.
Carson does some dumbass shit every time where it's like, well, why the fuck would he do that? And then he just.
It's rough, man. UGA. I mean, who knows? You know, maybe we saw. They'll be fine. Like I think they'll bounce back. Like
I mean, they're still straight. Like they're not out of the top. What is it? They're still in the top 10. So it's it's cool. But
I also think we're gonna see like a real era. I know UGA has always had players in the NFL, but I mean like stars, longevity. Like Brock Bowers is the truth. Like some of these kids are definitely gonna have a future, but I guess we'll see. The Falcons are like a disaster again. Like it's crazy because
hey, wait a second.
Oh yeah.
Fuck you, Kirk. All right, keep going.
Bro, I said last week I was like, watching Kirk Cousins play football is like when you have a friend come over that doesn't have an Xbox but they want to play Madden and then they play you. That's how he plays. Now sometimes like I'm pretty sure that tomorrow he's about to pop off because he's been doing so terrible. Like it's the Kirk Cousins spin cycle. But we'll see, man. That shit was brutal. Bring on Phoenix.
Huh?
Yeah, let me see Phoenix.
Hey, shut up, bro. Show me that Phoenix, man. Wiley, I heard you got an album coming out, man.
Yeah.
The streets is saying You got a motherfucking album coming, man.
So I'll say this. I think the flood as a concept for me refers to putting out a lot of music,
Hmm.
but it does tie into what I'm trying to do. But yeah, I got this project that is finished. I mean, it needs to be mixed and mastered, and I just did a new pass at an outro, so we're gonna have to record that. But
Hmm.
I'm trying to put it out like probably next spring. I got to figure
Hmm.
it out. Link with the producer. It's all produced by one artist. I won't say who because we're gonna do a whole rollout. I mean, it's not
It's
like
okay, but nah, no.
it's not a secret per se, but we got a whole
Then I'm gonna
rollout.
figure out then.
But yeah, it's great. I mean, it's very different from like a lot of my other shit. I think it's like a really cool. It's like a cool departure, but it's also like a very honest album. It's very raw and really like lyrical. So I'm interested to see how it lands. Apart from that, like I have a bunch of music. Like I'm in that weird sort of self-inflicted release jail where you like have music you could release, but you want to like, and people always say like it's like the number one unsolicited music advice people tweet is like, drop that song, bro. What are
Yeah.
you for? But I just always try to do everything with intention. I don't want to like throw a song up there because I'm like, oh, I f with this, but like have no reason for putting it out or like not feel like
Yeah. I think that that's lost on people. That concept is lost on people. And again, I think artists are very different kinds of people. And when you're just somebody who just does something because someone tells you to, or does something because everyone says it's the right way to do it, then you don't understand the mind of somebody who does things, like you said, with intention. So sometimes it's not necessarily if the song is good or bad. It's just necessarily about what does it mean? And if it doesn't mean anything, then why would I do it? You know?
right.
So
I also think a lot of times people just view releases like it's part of it's a larger thing, but I feel that like people think that putting out music is a means to an end, you
hmm
know, or like,
hmm
well, you're trying to make it, you're trying to get bigger, so
then
why aren't
why? Yeah,
you music?
yeah,
Why aren't
yeah.
you putting content out? But if you even pay attention to the way that like major mainstream artists cycle,
Hmm.
like 3 years of touring, probably two albums come out, radio play, they disappear. They might come back in 2 years. You know what I'm saying? Like, what is Olivia Rodrigo doing right now? You remember when she was everywhere? So like, it's there's cycles, and I think that
When you said that, I immediately was like, well, that sounds like a good life. You know, these days it's like not necessarily two albums. If you want
right,
to do three tours, you got to drop like four
right,
albums. If we're talking mixtapes, EPs, whatever you want to call them, you know what I'm saying? Like four projects gets you maybe two tours. And if you headline something,
right.
two of those times maybe that you might
Well,
open for the,
and I should clarify that I'm not talking about someone like in my weight class
but
necessarily.
somebody
I'm talking
established.
about like your like Sabrina Carpenter right
Right.
now, right?
Grade A,
Who's
yeah.
pop star? She's like, what I'm saying is that my perception of the way that major industry works is she's got to run this album and the music that is succeeding like as
Hmm.
far as she can,
Hmm.
right? Because she's probably got to pay back money
Hmm.
to the label for
Hmm.
radio play, all this other
Hmm.
type of shit that goes into
Hmm.
it. But she blew up on Spotify too, so she might have a little more leeway than some of the like a
But we,
Shabuzi
but we,
or
but
a
we
Ray,
heard about Spotify though. We heard about
right?
Spotify. Do we trust
So,
that? Do we trust that? Are we on board for the numbers game? Is that
so I think that's interesting too. Like I was looking at it because they had, it was some sort of chart data, but I had never really thought about it that way. And it was showcasing like, you know, someone like Shabuzi blew up on the radio, so his
mhm,
Spotify numbers aren't like someone like Tommy Richmond. His Spotify jump is crazy.
crazy? Yeah.
So I think that's really interesting, just in terms of like what does that mean in the context? Like, I almost feel like it's a new thing, and maybe it's not, but it's like you have these artists who are blowing up kind of in different ways, in different
Hmm.
avenues, and then you know someone like Shabuzi doesn't. It doesn't seem like he has a rabid like online fan base. There's not a
Hmm.
bunch of people tweeting like,
Bro, these are organic listens of people in their 30s and
right,
40s spinning this shit at the bar. You feel me?
right.
Listening to this shit, wherever they're drinking at or whoever
That's
they're
what I'm
hanging
saying.
out with.
Like
Like,
that is so different from the way that most people like most music is consumed and the way
mhm,
songs become hits and all this kind of stuff.
mhm,
So I do think like when we have a situation where you see something where it's like, oh, this song, like the Morgan Wallen song that like broke
Mm-hmm.
records, and everybody was like, have you even
Mm-hmm.
heard this song? Blah blah
Right.
blah.
And at that point, I had never heard it, which is crazy. Once
Neither
I,
had I, but
yeah,
like my little brother had heard it. He listens
right,
to country, and he
right,
listens to more country certainly than I do. Like
right.
there's the people that listen to, you know, like country specifically as a genre, and I think it's something that it's the reason why a lot of artists are like kind of pivoting into that lane
Mm-hmm.
because there's money making opportunities that have nothing to do with like streaming. But then at the
Right.
same time, like, you know, country fans like love country, but I think this is, and this is a whole nother conversation, but
Mm-hmm.
this is
I
like
love
the
a good
whole,
tangent, bro.
well, it's like the Beyonce album Paradox, right?
Yeah.
So Beyonce made a great country album that has a bunch of country legends on it
Mm-hmm.
that, like, for all intents and purposes, country music fans should love, right?
Right. Right.
Country music fans don't like Beyonce.
Right.
They're never gonna say, "Oh, I like this. Let me go listen to Lemonade." That's
So,
not
okay. So, what's
like
the difference? Answer me this. What's the difference between, outside of it being an obvious body of work, a tour, like a whole rollout?
right.
What's the difference between what Beyonce did or is doing and what Quavo is doing? Is it the is
Mhm.
because we mentioned collaboration, right? Like it's there on both sides. Both parties went and found somebody who, and even Jelly Roll, who's not, I guess, like a
Right.
country star, but he's well known in that space, kind of
I,
like a Post Malone type of vibe, like
but a lot of it is perception, and a lot of it is like also. I mean, Beyonce is black,
yeah,
like, and she's not like she's a black woman who has released a massive body of work of music that is like highly critically acclaimed. But I think like, and this is what I'm talking about is like it's not Beyonce's fault obviously
Mhm.
that like maybe that her album hasn't sort of like galvanized country music the way that
Right,
it's been successful like in pop mainstream or with her fans or like whatever it is.
right.
I'm just saying that I think like look at Shabuzi. It's like he's almost
Dude,
it's not his fault. You know what I'm saying? Like, but for I think for country music fans, their thing is like so someone like Post Malone,
yeah.
right?
I just want to say it hurt to see Shabuzi not get a single fucking award, bro, for
Right.
that song.
And I
That's
think no, it's foul, but I also
yeah.
think it's like they're trying to protect this
Oh, for
non-existent
sure. Oh, for sure.
idea of
It's a
like,
dying
oh,
idea.
you're
It's
not really country.
yeah,
You
yeah.
ain't really, whatever. Like, but the irony of it is that as we've seen countless times, like when white people cross over into black genres,
Oh, we love it. Oh, we
white
love it.
fans don't
Yeah,
care. Like,
yeah, yeah.
bro, a white person like trying to sound like D'Angelo, white people aren't offended by that because they don't listen to D'Angelo. It's
Yep,
like so, and that's
yep.
like that's in some context what I'm saying is like it's not Beyonce or Shabuzi's fault. Like I actually like Shabuzi's album. There's really well written country music on there. He is like writing songs that are a lot more introspective and like deal in more country, like true country themes than a lot of mainstream country shit. But again, they don't like the idea maybe of a black guy doing that, but they also just want him to not be authentic. And I think that's a weird, like, it's
It's
so
media.
different.
It's fucking media, and that's the fight
Yeah,
though. That's the uphill
true.
battle. And bro, even you're gonna face that shit. Like once you get to that point of like there's gonna be a moment where everything kind of hits a crux, and you're like, damn, I deserve. Like it's kind of like I guess Lil Wayne hit it later in his career, but the Super Bowl should have, that being a pivotal
Right.
moment of like, well, damn. I guess people don't see me how I see myself, or damn, like when that mirror is held up and media shows you, they make it seem like it's the people, but
Where you're driving at. And I think a lot of it still, like, it comes back to perception, but it's also like, bro, it's just cyclical. And it's like people get tired, like they get bored.
yeah,
They're like, you know what? This sucks actually.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
This sucks. Like,
They
bro,
wake up and they
all the
decide.
time.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And so like here's an example. Like so Childish Gambino.
Hmm.
When Childish Gambino first came out, received a lot of hate. Okay.
Hmm.
Even like people that didn't
I
really
remember listening
rap.
to Camp and being like, "Wow, does this make me a fucking
It was a
square?"
lot of people who were like, this sucks, like whatever,
Yeah,
like he was called corny, like all that type of shit.
yeah.
over time, he's built up all this like good faith equity. People are like, oh, this man's a genius, you know, all this kind of stuff. Like he proved that he could do this and that thing. And then now younger generations are finding his music, whatever. Suddenly the narrative is shifting back to like, fuck this guy, he sucks.
Yeah.
A really interesting thing that always, and he's an artist and like a person who likes to live in that.
Yeah.
And I've said before, like, I don't think you can necessarily blow up without making music that like forces people to decide if they love it or hate it at some point in your career. Like you need something that people have to have discernible taste. Like, I like this or I don't like this. You can't make it if all you make is like, this is pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah. This is not as all right. Yeah.
Never gonna go anywhere. You see it all the time. Like,
let's take a second. I need to let that breathe, because there's a lot of people who are aspiring artists, who are fans of yours, who want to hear shit like that, who want to hear you say, Wiley say, yo, you can't, you got to make art that makes people decide whether they love it or hate it. That's a Wiley fact. You bitch ass nigga, you.
Well, dang it, because I think that like it's always going to be a risk, like, and performing and putting out your own art and like putting it out there for other people and all this stuff, that's always going to be a risk. You know what I'm saying? So, but if you really want it to go to that next level, look, there's a reason why. I'm not like necessarily encouraging this. I'm just pointing it out. What goes viral all the time, right? Subversive clips. It's all like, he doesn't look like he should sound like that. Viral.
Like when you see Jameson, like when Jameson drops an album a year or so, or how, you know, before, and then all of a sudden a clip of him fucking shimmying, going crazy. People, well, he's a fucking white guy. He shouldn't be jamming like this.
That's crazy too, because that's one of those things where like he's getting like memed in a way, like in like a positive net.
It's so rare. It's rare that you see it spin in that way. And there's maybe like a handful of people in 2024, at least, who can say that that pendulum swung in their favor. I think that him being memed in that way is kind of like the cool white guy, like the jamming ass white guy vibe. And you, I mean, fuck a stereotype, but if you gotta be stereotyped, like I'd take the jamming ass white guy over, like, you know, cornball, you know, any day.
Hey man, and like that's at the end of the day, I mean, you know, you just gotta be as authentic as you can be and what you're trying to do, because like, you know, there's really authentic artists that just happen to also be really corny. Like,
we know
very corny. Fine. You know what I mean? Like, find your audience and like all that kind of stuff.
And that can be your bag. Like, look at Drake. Like, capitalize. Like, I mean, and I'm not saying, you know, focus on the bag and capital over everything, but shit, if you got to listen to what motherfuckers think, get paid for it, because they don't. You know?
And it's true. I mean, and I think that is always an element of this whole thing too. Like, look, there's no, obviously people say it all the time, there's no like one way to make it in the industry or to etc.
As my papa used to say, there's more than one way to skin a cat, boy.
Exactly. But there are steps. Like, there are actual like real ththings. You know, I'll have occasionally someone come up to me and be like, I want to make music. Like, I started making beats, whatever. Like, I'm trying to blah. What do I do? And the minute I start talking to them about like, oh, you need to go out and perform and you need to meet people and do blah, 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 you know.
Cause bro, niggas don't want to hear that shit. People don't be wanting to hear that shit, bro. They want to hear, oh, I know a guy here, talk to my friend and he's gonna help. Like, they want immediate help right then and there. And man, it's tough out here.
You're not ready for it. And that's like, when I was younger, I constantly, like I said earlier, like I used to joke, like every time my phone would ring and it was an unknown number, I thought it was gonna be Ye. Like, he was just gonna be like, I need you on this. SoundCloud, I need it. I need you out. Just
especially after X, it was like, yo, nah, it could Drake could hit you. Like,
I was like, this could really happen. But that's what I'm saying. Like, I think I had such this like idea of, you know, how things could happen, and you also figure out like when we went on tour in January, I have to say, like, it changed my whole perspective. Like, going on tour for the first time and really getting to see, like, fans in other cities and, like, experience performing
Mm-hmm.
on that scale, like, for a bunch of people who had never seen me live, it totally changed my perspective on, like, I think we can get really caught up in this, like, oh, man, like, I hope my next song does well, or I hope this or that does well. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like, ultimately, if you're cultivating a fan base of people that want to hear what you make, keep feeding that. Like, that's your best resource.
No, hey, Wiley fact. I got this here picture pulled up on my screen, man.
Yeah.
Can your eyeballs, can you see that?
Yeah.
What do we, okay. So one thing I want to say is this. When I seen this shit, immediately I was like, Beast Boy. But I'm not sure
Right.
if everybody feels that way.
See, I thought I had the same thought. And the reason, first of all, I think this whole post is bait because all that has been going viral, right? It's bait because they want people to say Robin because we just had they had all these clips of Robin like beating the shit out of people. So I wasn't gonna fall for that trap. But also anybody who watched that show knows that Robin's not the one. Like,
come on,
why
man. Come on. Why would you with a nigga who could turn into a shark and an eagle in the same fight?
Bro, okay, so this is the problem. Beast Boy, if you think about like the different members of the Teen Titans in that show,
yeah,
all have like some sort of OP power scaling, like
where it's like, all right, my they're like
their bag of tricks and be like, I'm gonna handle it. Like I have a scary power that if I use it,
I'm gonna keep it a stack. A close second to me, and I know people are. You may not understand. Raven, bro, like she's underestimated. I think like when you're talking about like powers that are just like, all right, bro, because what the fuck?
Eat her.
You ever saw Static Shock before?
Yeah.
You remember the dude, the shadow dude who used to just come out like the fucking, I used to fucking be so scared of that nigga, bro, because it's like, bro, it get dark every day. So you mean to tell me whenever it's dark, this nigga's just lurking?
No, that shit was actually very upsetting. I remember like that villain, that one, and I think he also had like a plastic man, like rubber.
Yeah, the fucking rubber band ball, dude. Bro, yeah. I was like, damn, bro, that used to be creepy, bro. Talk to me about this on the screen right now, man.
Yeah, man. So,
we got Doechii doing a tiny desk, but also I think Tyler on guitar. Who's that?
Yeah.
Who's that?
That's the homie. She's like one of my very, very good friends, collaborators.
Mm-hmm.
And we've been playing live together. She's like the guitarist in my band, runs the show.
Wow.
We were on tour. She was running sound. I mean, as much as she could. Like,
yeah.
Really our engineer on the road and playing guitar. So
goddamn.
We were like in LA on this last run of shows. She happened to be in LA at the same time.
Yeah.
So pulled up and like, we did a little, popped out of my set, and then she was also going to be in Boston for our show in Boston. So she pulled up to that. I think what happened was Doechii ended up doing a DJ set at
right.
Which clips it all looked super cool. Like I totally understand why she chose that too, because I don't think a lot of people did bands.
And that was a big moment for Doechii too. Like her first, like one of her first big performances, especially on her new rollout.
And so I think like if you hit them with the band, maybe it's a little too like avant-garde or
like
songs, how they hear. Anyway, it's any number of reasons. But she did get the look for Tiny Desk. And she told me she was going to be on it, but it was crazy, man. Like just seeing it come out and like, yeah, I mean, she deserves it. She's amazing. She like works very, very hard at what she does. And I think she's super underrated and like she's like been adjacent to a lot of opportunities like this. And like people she works with get big opportunities and things happen. And I'm always like, waiting for her to get that look. And hopefully this is just the beginning. I'm saying
it's like when good things happen to good people, man.
Yeah. And I mean, it's an iconic performance. It's a legendary Tiny Desk. Like I told her yesterday, like I texted her, like just try to take time to enjoy the fact that you like that this moment exists for you.
Yeah, bro. That's so hard because a good successful artist, bro, you're trained to not live by the winds. You know what I mean? So it can become hard sometimes to be like, oh shit, this is really happening.
Yeah.
Oh shit, I'm really doing this shit right now.
Yeah, you feel like you got to keep your head down, but she deserves it. So
shout out to Tyler on guitar, man. Congratulations, and I hope you go far, man. Congratulations, man. Right now I want to talk about your top albums list. I seen this shit.
Yeah.
And I'm not mad at it. I'm not mad at it at all. It's a very good mix. I'm surprised by some stuff, and I'm
Yeah.
not surprised by other things. Blue Lips, obvious choice.
Yeah.
GNX, obvious choice. What I
Yeah.
do want to talk about being so high in the top 5 is
Yeah.
that Childish Gambino album, bro.
Yeah, bro. It's, that's crazy.
Because it was not one of my favorites. I'm gonna be honest. And
Nah, like it's funny when I saw that on my thing too. I was like, oh damn, because
yeah, they got me there.
bro, like I'm a very big fan of him.
Yeah.
Obviously, like I have been for a long time. But I'm
Yeah.
right with you. Like I did not like this album very much, and I think like probably so. I got tickets to go to the show.
Mhm.
Like I don't really go to shows like that, but I was like, man, he said it's his last tour. I'm trying to go see the show. Like,
Yeah.
well, then the album came out, and I was kind of like disappointed because it wasn't like, I don't know. I guess for me, someone like Donald Glover is like really self-aware, I think,
Mhm.
like everything he does. So, but if I just had to have like an off-the-cuff take about it, it did feel like a soundtrack to a movie.
Yeah, and who knows? I
If
think
the
maybe
movie came out first,
Yeah.
or like with it, it
Yeah.
could have been like, it could have really elevated, because there's some great, like, this is what I said to Johnny, like my friend who's my DJ and drummer and
Mhm.
shit. I
Mhm.
said the other day, or while we were on the road, and he was like, bro, exactly. I was like, there are some really good songs on that album, like
Mhm.
good, but it just doesn't
context.
like,
Yeah.
like the whole thing together, like it just doesn't feel, it's not that fun to listen to. I don't know. I was kind of surprised.
That's what got me. That's what got me. It's not that it wasn't
Yeah.
because it's obviously a good album by technical
Right.
standards, but like
Very good, and like,
yeah.
but yeah, I thought the last project I enjoyed a lot more, the Untitled one.
Mhm.
Didn't like it as much when
That felt more freeing, like more free
Yeah.
for him.
it just felt like, yeah, exactly. I guess here's the thing, right? And maybe this is
And those guest verses were all fire. I remember hearing that shit
Right.
like, damn.
Well, like he had so many. I guess he's one of those artists that you kind of assume at all times that he's like a step ahead, because that's
Mhm. Mhm.
how.
So when you get let down, it's like, well, damn, what were you?
Right. I think that's what it is. And that's just me like being a fan, feeling
Yeah.
let down. But no, I mean, this like really this list didn't surprise me, because I would say I was surprised to even see McGee on there, to be honest.
I was about to ask you about that next. That's crazy you said that.
No, people, I like, look, I get it. I think he's brilliant and
Yeah.
like, love that album. But I
Yeah.
just I tried that album a few times, and
Yeah.
I think I haven't found, sometimes with a project, like you'll be listening to it and you're like, this is objectively good, and
Yeah.
I'm tapped into it right now. Like,
Yeah.
like, and I'm sure people are gonna see this and be like, you didn't feel anything?
Yeah.
What the
Did you
wrong
hear
with-
the fucking yeah.
Like, I
Yeah.
totally get it, bro. I probably deserve that. Like, I'll peep it.
No,
but
no, fuck that. I got you, Wiley. Fuck that. Hey, you
Nah.
fucking nerds. Fuck that.
I have very, like, my taste, as you can see,
Yeah.
is pretty specific.
Right.
Like, you know, that Leon Thomas album totally
Oh
top
yeah.
fire,
Fire.
like, those things. Like, I was like, yeah, I'll check this out. Why
Yeah,
not,
and then bow. Yep.
bro?
Yep.
Insane. Like, from track one, I was like,
Yep.
oh, this is different. Track two,
Yep.
that song, I'm sure it was in my top 10 songs. Safe Space, bro. Oh,
Mhm.
God.
It's I think, yo, I'm so proud of him because I remember seeing, him working on music years ago, and I didn't even know he was signed to Ty. I'm gonna be honest, I had no idea until recently. And I was like, oh, well, that makes sense. Like that, okay, I like that. You know what I'm saying?
He's that rare example of somebody that just pops out and like they have it all. Like
Mhm.
he voice, like the
And if you watch Nickelodeon, you knew back then. Like
Right.
he'll bust out on some singing shit or whatever. Like,
he was like that secret talent
yeah.
that like you could tell that's really what he wanted to do.
Exactly. All right, I'm finna ask you these questions right quick. All I
Yep.
need is a yes or no answer, man. We gonna rapid fire,
All
wrap
right.
this thing on up, man. You ready?
Yep.
You ever pissed in a sink?
Yes.
You ever dirty Mac for a chick?
No.
Do you like purple jelly beans?
I don't think so.
You ever broke a girl's heart on purpose?
No.
You ever been arrested?
Yes.
You ever gone 4 to 5 days without showering?
No.
That's Wiley ATL, ladies and gentlemen. Hey, love you, boy. I appreciate you stopping
Man,
through, man.
much for having me out, bro. I hope I see you soon.
Blessings, man.
Be safe always.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Hey, man. Have a good one, Wiley. See you later, man.
You too. Take care.
Peace.